chapter 10, verses 2 and 3. One says that Paul is talking about the Jewish nation. He said, brethren, talking to Israel, and it also can apply to the church. He said, brethren, talking to Israel, God chosen people, just like he chose the church. Brethren, my heart desire and prayer to Israel, or for Israel, is that they might be saved. And I'm going to do it. Here's where the problem was. In verses 2 and 3. When he made that statement, that they might be saved, he praying for them. He said, for I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. But this is what they were doing. For they're going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God. I want to talk about zeal, knowledge, and righteousness are the keys to salvation. It's bad to go through life thinking you're all right, and you're not. It's kind of rough to go through life. Y'all go with me now. Thinking you have something that you don't. Anybody ever thought they had some money in the bank? You know it wasn't much, but you had some in there. And when you went to get it out, you find out you had none. In there. This passage that God asked me to deal with today, and him being the spokesman, I looked at these 3 words that captivated, made me look at them, and I want to deal with them. I looked at zeal, I looked at knowledge, and I looked at righteousness. Can I get the left that says zeal? Zeal. Can I get the right that said knowledge? Knowledge. Can I get everybody that said righteousness? Righteousness. All right. And that's what to conclude. It takes all 3 of those. Look what Paul addressed them at. He said, my prayer for Israel is actually that they might be saved. So, can you be lost and think you're saved? Isn't it bad to go through life thinking you have something that you don't? And you find out you didn't have it, only you went to a place that you can't come out of. Isn't it better to get it straight now? Let's see what messed them up. Let's see what Israel caused Israel confusion, because God established Israel in Abraham in Genesis 12. He grew Israel out of Abraham. He called Abraham out, Jackie, in Genesis 12 and told him, I'm going to show you a nation and I'm going to bless your seed. And your people are going to be like the sand of the sea. Julie called Abraham, and Abraham thought the promise was going to be in the son that he got with an outside woman. Because he felt like his wife was too old to have children. But God said, no, this is going to be by your wife. He waited till Abraham got 100, and Sarah was 90. Then he gave him Isaac. I wonder why he waited that long, because he wanted Abraham to know he had nothing to do with this. He let Isaac have two boys, Jacob and Esau, and God chose Jacob. Esau was a son too, but God chose Jacob. Jacob had 12 boys and one girl. Am I doing all right so far? I'm doing close. I'm finished setting this up. He had 12 boys and one girl by 4 different women. Look at the names, and maybe that's a mess right there. Look at the next neighbor. Can you imagine being in the same house with 4 wives or 4 husbands? Women get tired of one husband. You know what you're going to do with. And men can't do nothing with one woman. What in the world you going to do with 4? Go crazy? Can I preach a little while? From them 12, that took a Reggie right there. From that 12 boys and one girl. Then God just showing he taking ordinary people and people that got struggles and messy just like we are, that he can use them. That's all that we do. He took them, and 72 out of that family, out of the 12 boys, went down in Egypt. Stayed down there I told you it's coming out of Abraham, right? Stayed in there over 400 years, and over 2 million came out from that group. Out of that crew, that 2 million, God brought them out of Egypt, came through the promised land, back and forth. Now watch this. They were God's chosen people, and God delivered them. But God spent the rest of the Bible, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judge, and Ruth. How am I doing up here? Not straightening up the world, but getting his folks straight. He was delivering them, giving them water out of rock, bread from heaven. Didn't let their clothes wear out. Kept them out there 40 years dealing with them. But none of that fixed their heart with God. Gwen, it was more about God doing something for them than them doing something for God. If y'all come on, I'm going to put it in a minute. We need to catch us where we at. I'm dealing with this word called zeal. That's what I'm dealing with now. I bear them record that they have a zeal of God. Y'all with me here? Yes, sir. I looked at this word zeal, since I'm not astute as many of you all are. Vanessa, the teacher that's in here, so I wanted to get some clarity about this word. So I went and researched. I Googled it. Joe, I Googled it. You got me some research. And the zeal dealing with Christianity. Listen to this word now, how then, and I saw why it messes us up. Zeal in Christianity means is a burning desire to please God. Tell somebody, that's me right there. That's me. Not only to please God, Helen, but to do his will. Tell somebody, that's me too. I got to close, and I'm getting ready to close this message there. Not only to please God and to do his will, but also to advance his glory in the world in every possible way. Tell somebody again, I'm all three of those. No, let me go down. I'm all three of them. Now that sounds good. But when I read this text, Bobby, when I read this text, it tells me that zeal won't get me there. Am I helping somebody up in here? He said, I bear them record, preach, boy, I'm better preaching y'all looking out there, that they have a zeal of God. That means they got a burning desire to please him, to do his will, to advance his glory in the world. They got that. But it's not, and here's where it messes it up, according to knowledge. So a zeal without knowledge, preach, Bob, ain't good. So I figure, how in the world is that when I got a burning desire to please God and I know what he has done for me? When I was sick, he healed my body. When I was down, he picked me up. Whatever it says here, this is what it says, John. See, y'all just looking, I'm hoping y'all listening with this zeal, and most of us got it, and this is where the world is messed up right here. Those that call it weak and strong or whatever, this is where we messed up at. See, a zeal without knowledge, with a zeal without knowledge deals with your way. And Proverbs 14 and 12 said, there is a way, which is your way, that seems right. See, a zeal is dealing with the seem right way. Because where God has worked with you, you think he worked like that with everybody. And if he don't work with somebody else like he does everybody, then you ain't right. You just got a zeal. Because God worked with you that way don't mean he had to work with the next one that way. We do our children like that. You got some, you got to beat their brains out. And then you got some, all you got to do is just say, you better sit down and just look at them. You get the same results out of both of them, but to handle them. Am I doing all right up in here today? So, this zeal without knowledge, you're on fire for God because you do know some things about him. It's taking me too long already because y'all, I know y'all listening, but I want you to kind of let me know that I'm doing all right. Hosea, I think 6 and 4 or 4 and 6 says, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Didn't say they didn't have a zeal, talking about Israel, but they are being destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Now, George, he'd go, I'm doing some pretty good preaching up in here. And I ain't going to holler about one of them 2 times. I need y'all come on. We want to holler because I'm doing this if y'all come on. A zeal and knowledge. He said, for the lack of knowledge. Watch this in. And knowledge is not something that just happened, because he said in that next verse in 7, and because you have rejected knowledge. You have rejected coming here to hear what God said to your heart because you think you already got enough. You can testify that God woke you up this morning. You can testify that God had brought you this far. But if that's all you got, soon the cloud and a storm hit at 12 o'clock, then you finna go up in the air like you just don't care. You done lost your mind because that's all you know. But because you know God done woke you up this morning, God put you in your right mind, then when all hell breaking loose at 1 o'clock, it gets you rattled, but you can go back and say, I know the words of all things. Because it did say, and we know. Ask that person next to you, do you know anything? Do you know anything? Do you know anything? Here it is here. You see, in order to get through this, madness, in order to go through this madness that be going on, relationship problem, everything, you got to know something. And he said, and we know that all things, not something, work together to the good of them that love God and are called according to his purpose. It doesn't matter how it hurts. You know you're going to get through it because God has got you. Can I help somebody up in here today? Knowledge. Them two words in the closing of this. Knowledge, I Googled that too. Is the fact or condition of knowing something with familiarity gained through experience or association. I looked at those two words. Preach, boy. And that's a good meaning. But when I look in the Bible, them two meanings, them things, that mess you up. Through experience and association. And experience is good. I have learned a lot of things. Y'all listen to me.
Come on, preacher, come on.
I have learned a lot of things through experience. Some good, some bad. I have learned a lot of things through association. Some are good, some bad. But them two things mess you up. Because that still go with the A way, how you see and think things. I'm not saying it is a way, but that's how our dad and mama did it, Georgia. Y'all with me? God tells our mom and daddy, Adam and Eve, not to eat from that tree. And it told them that, now I'm going to tell you this to help you, because in the day that you eat it, you should surely die. Joseph, I know it's Joe. They couldn't take his word for it. How many of us went through life and couldn't take your mom and dad's word for it? You had to go try it for yourself. Can I preach a little while here? And when you tried it, you found out mom and daddy. And when you found out that mom and daddy was right, you still paying for it, ain't you? Can I get a hand clap out here? You still paying for it. Now you got experience, but look what experience did. The experience, that 5 minutes experience have given you 18 years of. See, y'all want me to come on up in here, y'all. That little 3-second decision have caused you to trouble the rest of all your life. Anybody here still paying for some decision they made a long time ago? Do you do like me? Do you do like me? Do you go to the mirror and say, why did you do that? You knew that was stupid when you decided it. That took them over right there. How am I doing up here? Stephanie, if all of us in here would say, if I could just only go back. many I don't like them two words? Experience and association. Because it still deals with us, April. Us making choices and decisions. And not on what God said. Well, let me do this. See, when we do it that way, we establish, yeah, I'm supposed to be through, y'all. When we do it that way, he says, we go around establishing our own righteousness. When a zeal is not according to knowledge of God. That means our own righteousness, Cedric, you going to stay with me, Cedric? Don't go sleep on me now. Stay with me. Our own righteousness is how we see it. Our own righteousness is how we see it. Y'all gonna pray with me here? And how we think it ought to be. Y'all with me here? That's the reason he says in Matthew 6:33, seek ye first. That's the first one. The kingdom of God. Here's the second one. What I want to get to. And his. Neighbor, look at the neighbor one more time. I know you're tired of him. Say, neighbor, I'm tired of you. But I'm going to stick with you. You got to remember he said his righteousness and not your righteousness. Throw your righteousness out the window and go get his righteousness. Well, what do you mean by his righteousness? Righteousness, feel mean his way. His way ain't dropping in your head. You got to look to see what his way is. When God said, love me with all your heart, soul, and mind, that ain't how you think you ought to love him. He said, you got to check in the book to see how to love me with all your heart, soul, and mind. If you're going to love me like that, the first thing you got to do is have no other gods before me. I'm preaching pretty good up in here. Don't take my name. Stop putting up them graven images. Keep my Sabbath day. I'm not asking but for one day, and we do it on a Sunday. You mean tell me you can't sit in church 2 hours? You can't stop smoking dope one day. You can't stop drinking one day. If you got to drink every day, you alcoholic. Preach, boy. You can't stop cussing. You can't stop gossiping. Your attitude bad every day. Somebody said, preach, preacher. I need the right say, bring it on in. I need the left say, come on with it. Brenda, is this good here? Come out and already holler. So the experience and association is not enough. We got to see what God is saying. The only thing I'm trying to do is, and I do this every week, it's just another unique way of saying we got to get in the Word. That's all. Jesus said in John chapter 4, verse 22 and 23. It says, talking to a woman from Samaria. They were adopted Jews. And he was talking to this woman. And this woman realized that he was somebody special. Because she said, why do you, being a Jew, talk to a woman of Samaria. You know the Jews and the Samaritans don't like one another. If you don't mind, look at that person next to you and say, neighbor, do you like me?
They ain't key today.
Look at that other neighbor and say, neighbor, you ain't got to like me. Because God didn't say nothing about like. But he did say, you got to love me. Oh, yeah. Ain't God all right? Get a neighbor high five and say, neighbor, I'd rather have your love and you can keep your life. Ain't God all right? Look at that neighbor and say, neighbor, because when you like me, I make you mad, you're through with me. Give another high five and say, neighbor, when you love me, you love me with my good and my bad. In the name of Jesus, love the Lord. Ain't God all right? Ain't the Lord all right? Jesus, say if you knew who was talking to you, you wouldn't even ask them kind of questions. You would ask me for some water, and I would give you living water. She said, give me that living water. He said, go and get your husband. She said, I ain't got no husband. I've been married 5 times, and the dude that I'm staying with now ain't mine. Ain't God all right? Get a neighbor high five. The neighbor, you may not be all you need to be, but God can still use you. Did anybody here know what I'm talking about? She said, you must be a prophet. She said, I got a question to ask you. I got one question. Y'all Jews, Jerusalem is the place to worship. We serve this well is the place to worship because it's Jacob's well. And I heard Jesus say, woman, I'm trying to straighten this situation out. Ain't God all right? We'll straighten it out now. You worship what y'all don't know. The Jews worship, and they supposed to know. And both of y'all are wrong. There's come a time, and it now is, that worship got to be done wherever you are, in spirit and in truth. Ain't God all right? Period. And God is looking for someone to worship him in spirit and truth. Stand on your feet and say, neighbor, 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 neighbor. You ain't got to like it. You ain't got to want it. But if God said it, embrace it. Get to him and watch God make a change in your life. Something is a neighbor. You've been praying for God to fix it. Ain't God all right? And say, neighbor, when I look at you, I see God bringing you out. Singing now. Be steadfast, unmovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. Slap that neighbor against the neighbor. You got to do like Jesus did. If you want a Sunday morning resurrection, you got to hang in there Friday, Friday night, Saturday night, and I'm through, but tell two people from where you are. Look at you, because y'all, I spotted y'all. I spotted y'all. I see about 4 on this side and about 6 on this side. Y'all catching hell and don't believe me, but I done gave you the word. I want y'all that know not to be scared to go to the ones that don't know and tell them, neighbor, weeping may endure for a night, but your joy is coming in the morning. Yeah! Yeah! The door is open. Anybody believe it's coming? You this close to getting your breakthrough. You got to hold on to your hope, because God, He got you right where He wants you. You just right for a blessing. Is there anybody here got a blessing with your name on it? God have taken it out the box, put your address on it, put a stamp on it, and it's on the way. But you got to hold on to your hope. See, we have now, give God a praise.